Your purpose isn't something that you do. It's who you are, and it's how you do everything. Your true purpose isn't the job that you have. Your true purpose is to be the fullest expression of yourself, the divine expression of your uniqueness. But here's the problem. Everyone wants to fit in. We are taught to conform. But how will people you're meant to connect with find you if you're trying to be like someone else? Welcome back to another episode of the Live Free Lifestyle podcast. I am your host, Leah Brathwaite, and I'm so grateful that you're here. I have a really exciting topic to dive into with you, but before we get into it, I want to give you a little bit of context and share this quote that I read a while ago that really stopped me in my tracks. And it says, "The two most important days of your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why." And it hit me so hard because I realized that at 30 years old, I had lived through the first day, but I had absolutely no clue about the second. So if you've ever felt successful on paper, but empty inside, or if you've ever wondered if there's something more you're meant to be doing in your life, if you've ever felt that you're living someone else's dream instead of your own, then this episode is for you. Because today I'm going to share with you the truth about purpose that nobody talks about, the 3 phases that will help you discover yours, and why everything you've been taught about finding your calling might be keeping you stuck. So I want to take you back to where this all began for me. So picture this. I'm 30 years old. I'm standing in my dream kitchen, in my dream home. I'm married to a good man. I'm looking at a life that checked every box that I was supposed to check. I had followed all of the rules perfectly. I was a good Christian girl who got married by 23, owned 2 homes by 27, had a stable career, and was living what everyone would call successful and even an impressive life. But here's what no one could see. I was completely misaligned on the inside. I felt lost and stuck and profoundly unfulfilled. I had no idea who I was, what I actually wanted, or what my true purpose was. Honestly, I thought that my purpose was to make other people happy, to serve God by knocking on doors weekly and going to church multiple times a week, because that's what I was told. And I was also told that my purpose is to find a good job and work really hard so I could eventually retire and then enjoy the fruits of my labor. So you might have followed some of the same steps as me, but all of that led me further and further away from myself. And you know what happens when you build your life out of alignment with who you really are for a long time? When you keep ignoring the whispers that your soul is trying to use to wake you up. When you ignore the calling that's louder than the whispers, when you ignore those deep feelings that something isn't quite right, when you really ignore how life is meant to move through you and how you are slowly being awakened to your purpose, sometimes it takes like a cosmic 2x4 or a slap to the face to really wake you up. And that's what happened to me. Mine came when my safe and predictable career ended abruptly. I developed a disabling nerve condition seemingly out of nowhere, and my body was literally forcing me to stop and pay attention. So looking back, I can see this pattern so clearly now, and I see it in most of the successful clients that come to me. They're at this major crossroads in their life, whether it's health related or in their relationships or in their careers even. There comes a point where they just can't keep doing what they're doing anymore. It's that oh shit moment where you realize something needs to change because you've hit a wall or you've experienced a loss that wakes you up to the fact that you've been sleepwalking through life. And unfortunately, it's mostly when we come across these life-altering moments that we really do start to question our purpose. We have little whispers of it, but if we don't catch the whispers, then it just gets louder and louder and louder until there's this major life event that causes us to wake up in a really uncomfortable way. And that was me. And that's when I discovered something really profound that completely changed the way I think about purpose. And what I realized is that your purpose isn't something that you do, it's who you are and it's how you do everything. So your true purpose isn't the job that you have. Your true purpose is to be the fullest expression of yourself, the divine expression of your uniqueness. But here's the problem. Everyone wants to fit in. We are taught to conform in school, in our jobs, in our family systems, in society. We're meant to live in these arbitrary metrics, to compare ourselves to others based on external circumstances. But if you think about this, and this is something really beautiful about human design that I love, and it teaches us that we are all meant to be completely differentiated versions of ourselves. There are no two human design charts that are the same, which shows us just how different we're meant to be. We're all trying to lump ourselves together and squish ourselves down to fit into these boxes. But truly, we're all meant to stand out for our uniqueness. So here's the question that will change everything. How will people you're meant to connect with find you if you're trying to be like someone else? If you're hiding your truth, if you're keeping yourself small, if you're trying to fit in and be one of the crowd, if you're settling for less than you desire, less than you deserve, or less than you're capable of just for the sake of fitting in. Because building your life out of alignment doesn't happen all at once. It's the small incremental decisions that build over time. So this happens when you say yes when you really mean no, when you go along with things because you're afraid of rocking the boat, or you follow somebody else's path because it's expected, or because it seems safer, or because somebody told you that's how it should be done. All of this leads you away from yourself slowly until you wake up one day feeling so far from the dreams you once had in your heart that you wonder if you'll ever be happy or fulfilled or free. And then you wonder, why am I here? What is the point of all of this? This can't be it. That's when we start searching for more meaning and more purpose. So if you find yourself in this place where you're wondering, why am I here? You're trying to answer that second part of the question. How do you get back? This is exactly what I have spent the last 11 plus years refining through what I refer to as the Live Free method. And I want to break it down for you into 3 simple phases that you can follow along. Find, form, and free. So phase 1 is all about finding your truth. And this is the first phase because it's all about reconnecting to who you really are beneath the pressure, beneath the expectations, beneath who you've learned to be. Because we all have a story of how we came to be where we are in our lives. And it started even before we were aware of it. If you go back to the episode on programming your mind and conditioning, we have adopted ways of being. From the time that we're children, we start collecting beliefs about ourselves, about the world, about what's safe, what's acceptable, what will get us love and approval. And it blocks us from our authenticity because we're trying to fit in, we're trying to get our needs met. So this phase is all about uncovering the fearful stories and the limiting beliefs that have been running your life on autopilot. This is where you learn to distinguish between your intuition and your fear and reconnect to your authentic voice and values, and then learn to trust yourself completely. This results in no more second guessing, no more feeling lost, just deep clarity about who you are and what feels aligned. So this is where you ask yourself questions like, what part of me have I been hiding? What do I actually want when no one else is watching? What lights me up from the inside? What do I want my life to be about? And let me tell you, it is about more than working your ass off and paying taxes. So what am I passionate about? What's driving me forward? So the next phase, after you've found your truth, you know who you are, this is where you get to form new patterns. So in his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Dr. Joe Dispenza explains how your thoughts and your emotions create your reality, which leads to habits that keep us stuck in the past. So events from our past inform our continual future. The core message is that by consciously changing your internal state, you can change your external life. So we've created a habit out of our identity, and it started at a really young age. Imagine if you would have to continuously relearn how to tie your shoes every day, or if you continuously had to relearn simple ways of operating in the world. We have so much of our habitual daily patterns on autopilot. We know automatically how to tie our shoes. We know automatically the way to work once we've done it a few times. We know automatically how to do our jobs in the world. And it's the same with our identity and our personality. We know automatically that being too loud will get us in trouble, or that staying quiet will get us approval. So our habits, our personality, and our identity become automated unless we become aware of the habitual patterns that are keeping us stuck. And not only that, but replacing them with empowering new standards. If we don't do that, we'll continue to keep repeating the same patterns and experiences over and over again, like Groundhog Day, until we die. It's how most people live their lives. They sleepwalk through life unaware that they are truly limitless and capable of creating a magnificent life for themselves. So in this phase of the Live Free method, you learn how to change those habits, those patterns of adaptability that you've learned through conditioning. This is where you learn how to set boundaries without guilt. This is where you learn how to regulate your emotions with grace and to make decisions from your truth rather than old conditioning. So this is where you make the shift from information to transformation, because you can know about your patterns. You have a pattern of attracting unavailable partners, or you have a pattern of not speaking up in business meetings, or you have a pattern of catering to everybody else's wants and needs, not really ever allowing yourself to have yours met. So you can know those things, but doing something about it is where you start to create a new way of being. So it's important to address the root patterns keeping you stuck and then replacing them with practices that support your authentic self. So this is where you start showing up differently in your relationships, in your work, in your daily choices. You stop settling for less than you desire, less than you deserve, and less than you're capable of. You stop abandoning yourself for others, and you start honoring what your soul is calling for. And then the final phase after that is freeing your soul. And this is where you fully embody your purpose. Your intuition and your imagination are divine gifts that are designed to help you express yourself fully. They allow you to move towards your passions. They allow you to share your gifts with the world and not only leave the impact you're here to make, but also receive all of the blessings that you're meant to receive. Because if you are not being your fullest expressed self, then there's no way for the things that are meant to be in your life to find you. It's like a heat-seeking missile that can't find its target because it's covered and hiding. So this is where you become unstoppable, because you're no longer seeking permission from a world that benefits from you dimming. You trust your inner guidance completely. You take inspired action. You become magnetic to the people and opportunities that are meant for you, because you become the youest you that you can be, the 1 in 8 billion that is perfectly created to see your wildest dreams come to life. But in order for you to fulfill your purpose, the world needs you to be who you really are, not a watered down version of you, not a version that makes everybody else feel comfortable, not a version that plays small to fit in, but the world needs your unique frequency, your specific gifts, and your particular way of seeing and being. And here's the thing, this path can feel isolating sometimes because there's no roadmap for living authentically, because authenticity by definition is completely unique to you, which is why it's so important to have support, to have community, to have somebody who's walked this path before you so that you can move through it without getting so lost. Because when you're in the thick of it, when you're questioning everything that you've built, when you're scared to disappoint people by changing, that's when you need someone in your corner who can remind you of what's possible on the other side. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, Leah, this all sounds beautiful, but where do I even start? Here are 3 things that you can do today. The first is to get quiet and ask yourself this question. If I knew I couldn't fail and no one would judge me, what would I be doing with my life? I don't want you to overthink it. Just write down whatever comes up for you. You might be surprised. You might already have an idea of what's happening, but when you give yourself an unbridled ability to just free write without judgment, your truth will start to emerge. The second thing is to notice in your life where you are saying yes when you really mean no, or where you are doing things that do not feel aligned, that do not feel good in your soul. And then start with one small thing and practice honoring your truth instead of avoiding discomfort. That's how you start to change the pattern and change the habit and move closer to acting as your true self. And then the third is to pay attention to what lights you up. What activities, what conversations, or what experiences make you feel the most alive? Those are breadcrumbs leading you back to yourself. Following your passion, following what lights you up is part of your purpose. So now, if this episode has stirred something in you, if you're feeling that call to discover your deeper purpose and you're ready for support in navigating this transformation, I want you to know about the Live Free Lifestyle experience. This is exactly the work we do together, helping high achievers to reconnect with who you really are beneath all of the conditioning, beneath those old stories and patterns, and create a life that feels as good as it looks because it is aligned with your truth. We work through all 3 phases: find your truth, form new patterns, and free your soul. And you have deep support, practical tools, and a community of soul-centered women and a few brave men who are all on the same journey. The next cohort actually begins next week, Friday, October 3rd. And there's both a group option and a completely personalized one-to-one experience where you and I can work together directly. We use your human design to have a completely customized experience. So if you're feeling the call to deeper purpose, to living free as the truest version of yourself, check out the livefreelifestyle.ca. I'll put the link in the show notes. And in closing, what I want you to remember is this: you were not born to struggle. You were not born to play small. You weren't born to live somebody else's life. You were born to live free. Free to be all of who you are, free to want what you want, free to live the life your soul is calling you towards. And your purpose isn't hiding somewhere out there waiting to be discovered. It's already within you. It's waiting to be remembered. It's waiting to be expressed. And it's waiting to be lived. The world is waiting for the gift that only you can give. So my invitation to you is to free your soul and make your mark on the world. Thank you so much for listening to the Live Free Lifestyle podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with somebody who needs to hear this message. And remember, you are loved, you are enough, and you matter. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.